I will say, even for an event that I already attribute like a fairly odd vibe to, the vibes were extremely weird at Vidsummit this year.
That's it. That's my intro.
Hi, I'm Amanda. You're watching Swell Entertainment, and today we are talking about Vidsummit. And this is actually the third time that I've been to Vidsummit. There is only one other video on Vidsummit, and that was the one that I made in 2022, back when Vidsummit was still in Los Angeles. In 2023, I went as well, and that is the first year that they were in Irving, Texas, all right, at the Irving Convention Center. 2024, I was not there. Instead, I ended up going to the Austin Grand Prix. That video is on the channel if you'd like to see that. But when I went in 2023, though I had many a thought, I didn't end up making a video on Vidsummit. I had toyed with the idea. I don't remember why exactly I didn't. Honestly, I think because I had made my video on VidCon Baltimore while I was at my hotel for Vidsummit. And if you go and watch that video, I talk about obviously the fact that I think I'm fairly certain I mentioned the fact that I was at Vidsummit for that. But I flew directly from VidCon Baltimore to Vidsummit. And so I think I had like anything was better than VidCon Baltimore. So I think I just kind of was like, I have notes, but like I'm just going to keep those mostly to myself because I don't know like what lens I'm actually looking at this event from, considering I just was very critical on this other event, which I'd done multiple critical back-to-back videos and things like that. And there were a lot of things that were improved upon 2023 from 2022. But overall, my video for 2022 was fairly neutral's not the word. There were things that I criticized, like I do always, but like I enjoyed my time at Vidsummit, even though there were some people that spoke to me crazy. And a lot of events like this, for some reason, a lot of people love to speak to me crazy. Often men. That's just the reality of it. And also when you talk about Vidsummit, it is very bro-festy. So like the statistics of who's going to be speaking to me crazy, the likelihood of it being a man is much higher because there's just way more men to women at Vidsummit. So I guess for this video, I will touch on a couple of things in 2023 that I obviously never made it to the internet. I had spoken about them and probably like I referenced them in other videos or things like that, but I never did like a dedicated Vidsummit 2023 video. Vidsummit 2025. Now I decided to go because I had just had like a 2-month hiatus of traveling. And I was like, you know what, let me go. Let me see what it is. Vidsummit is often a little bit like a reunion that feels fun. And like I did see a lot of friends that I don't normally get to see at Vidsummit. But overall, it definitely felt like the normal attendees that I am used to seeing at Vidsummit were not there this year from the creator side of things, okay? And that could be good or bad. I felt like there was definitely less people there at Vidsummit this year than in 2023. And people that I spoke to who have been to 2023, 2024, et cetera, that I met at 2022, they said that this did feel like there was less people here. Now, that could be because in 2023, the security setup was abysmal for that convention center. And that was my main gripe of 2023. There was no security checks of 2023. They had security guards walking around that were fairly heavily armed, at least in appearance. When I brought this up to someone like, hey, it's very weird that there's no security here, someone was like, yeah, but not a lot of people know about this event. And I was like, you could take out a good of the top 3% of creators of the creator economy if you really want to do some damage. And every time I bring that up, one of you dumbasses in the comments is like, yeah, that's every major event. We can't live our lives like that. Oh God. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. God. There's things that you have to think about though. And that was ridiculous. And so apparently last year there was an upgrade in security. And then this year I was thankful that there was a security checkpoint that you had to go through, and they kept stopping me for my sunglasses case. The thing is I had a friend that did have a blade on them for one of their projects, that he was like, yeah, it's not that good. I've been carrying this around with me this whole time. So my sunglasses case kept getting stopped, but a literal blade was not getting stopped. Also, you could just totally circumvent this by parking and coming in through the parking structure. There was multiple other doors that were open that there was no security checkpoint at. The illusion of progress, I suppose, like something was being done. There was a security checkpoint. It was able to be circumvented, and there were multiple people there was not like much of a security checkpoint as far as wristbands and badges. They would probably have stopped me if I was walking into a talk for the wristbands and badges, but multiple people that I knew were just like, yeah, I have clients here, or yeah, I'm here with X amount of people, or I forgot my badge or whatever. And they were just like in the lobby around. They just like stayed in the lobby the entire time. Were coming and going, no problem. Like the security checkpoint was not like checking for badges or anything like that. The thing about Vidsummit that I have defended previously and I talk about a lot and I explain to a lot of creators is that Vidsummit is like the business side of the creator economy, or for people that are ready to lock in a little further. Unlike, say, VidCon, where it's like they've previously had like they do have, but like my point, like there's the fan community badge, there is the creator badge, there is the industry badge. This is kind of like a mushing of the industry badge and the creator badge. There is no community element, there is no community badge for Vidsummit, because this is meant for creators or aspiring creators or people that want to work with creators or help creators. That is like the whole point of this. So the cost of the event of being close to $1,000 for a conference makes sense, because it's also another deterrent to prevent people from just like buying a badge for the sake of hopefully meeting a creator. And this year there was definitely much more separation than there has been in previous years for like speakers and things like that, and like backstage areas if it was needed. For example, there are just some people where it doesn't matter what the vibes are, they're going to be hounded and harassed for attention and things like that, especially from creators that want to be like them. I am mostly not one of those people. Sometimes y'all speak to me crazy, and a lot of y'all demand a lot of things from me in person when it comes to like YouTube advice or like how I make friends with people that are like more famous than me and things like that. But like no one's gonna like follow me around at this point at an event like this in particular. But there was a little more level of separation where like if you needed to go backstage and be in those types of areas, that was available more than I've personally witnessed in previous years, in my opinion, or that I've heard about in previous years. One thing that I think is interesting about this year is there's this whole outdoor area. There's no re-entry. So you can go outside and work out there, but then you have to take the stairs down and go all the way down back to the lobby to do security. Just feels like a way that you could block this off and put security out there to, you know, make it so that the space is usable, because there's not a ton of like workspace, sit down space out here that's not just like on the floor right now. In 2022, they did offer us food on at least one day. There was like a lunch thing. This year, there wasn't that. The opening night party, there is like free food and things like that. There's pizza and cheese and things like that. And that's it. At the convention center, there is like food options, and we're right next to the Toyota Music Center, where there's quite a few different food spots that do fill up during lunchtime, but like there are options. That's one of the things where it's like, if you guys gave us more food, I think I'd be more fine with like the current price, especially with how this event has expanded. The blow up from 2022 to 2023 was insane. Like the size of the venue, the amount of people that were attending. In 2023, okay, I was stopped at the opening night party by a guy, and he was like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you're here. Your video is the reason we spent $50,000 to be here." Now, that's an alarming number to have someone just like yell at you at a party. And I was like, sorry? And he said, yeah, your video was so great. I showed this to my boss, and it's like, this is where we got to go. This is where the serious creators are. And you're the reason that we bought a $50,000 booth to come to Vidsummit. I then went to his booth the next day to come check it out, and they were all excited to show me. It was an AI video company, but they were very excited to talk with me. So I was very polite. I did not I did not let on my feelings of AI at the time of 2023. So this is the second real floor. We got some workshops up here. We got like one panel hall. We got a couple of different sponsors and brands up here for creator tools, creator programs, and things like that. I haven't talked to many of them yet. Eventually I will. This year, I had a few more friends that had been asked to sponsor or were involved in sponsoring, and I was told that they were asked for $50,000 to be involved in the event again. This is the upstairs area. This is it. There is not much of a big like exhibitor hall. This is really it. This is everything. There was a few sponsors that were the same. Nomadic was there in 2023 as well. Channel Jumpstart is obviously always there. Super.fans, who I've talked to before, they like show people that are like really active in your community on your videos that are like your super fans. You know, some other sponsors, Adobe had a big thing. Opus Clips had a big thing. And I'm going to be totally frank. I did not think Skull Candy was still in operation. But Skull Candy is here. There was this whole thing they did called VidMart, where they show off a bunch of creator brands, and then throughout the days they would do like, oh, this is dropping at this time, come pick up your free stuff. So you can get like free versions of like Pizzafy from Arak and some Lash products, Overnight Oats. I wish they did better job of explaining what creators made what things, or like maybe involving the creators in that. Some creators were involved in like their drops, but I think that it kind of was just like, yeah, get this free thing versus like engage with this creator product in a sense. You know, I had mixed feelings about how they executed this just because I think it could have been done better. I think there was a better way to execute this, but maybe those creators didn't want to be involved, you know, in that. Some of them were there, like Eric was there. There was quite a few AI companies that were involved. One I got into a little bit of a terse discussion with because he wouldn't listen to me saying I would have used his product because of the AI involvement. And he was like, we don't make anything with AI. I was like, I don't care about that. Everything on your backdrop says AI powered or blank with AI. Literally every single feature. Why would I use it? Also, I just feel like we're reinventing the wheel again and again. And like, I get it. You can take a product that already exists and like make it better, but then don't act like you've never heard of that thing or that like it doesn't exist. Like if you're going to make a new Patreon, tell me why you're better than Patreon. Like that's my only request. Like it's like, sometimes they like don't like to bring up those brands and it's like, why would you use that? It's like, okay, well, people are already using it. Why not just use memberships? You know, like if you're going to reinvent the wheel that like is already an established thing in the industry, explain why it's better, not just, well, because of X, Y, and Z. Like he was like, well, YouTube can demonetize you, Patreon can demonetize you. I'm like, so can you. What are we doing? I'm still using you as a platform the same way I'm using all these. Like, let me walk away when I don't want to use AI. God, don't get, like, I'll be mean. I don't want to be mean. Adobe had a big involvement and stuff. They did a bunch of workshops. In 2023, they had turned one of the like second floor, like main second level spaces with the mini little like exhibitor hall essentially into a networking room. And I don't think they did that this year. I think they turned that into another hall. And I feel like the lack of networking space was a big mistake just because to have that on the inside second floor, everyone ended up congregating in the lobby quite a bit or just like in the floors of the hallway, which maybe that's what you want for photos and things like that. But I feel like the networking halls or like a networking room is better, especially because you're not having the outdoor space. Like people were using the outdoor space anyways because there was chairs, but there was like a distinct lack of chairs that weren't like in a hall, like in one of the talks, which again, maybe that was your call to try and get more people in the talks. I don't think it worked, but you know, maybe that's what the plan was. How long ago did that stop recording? William's going to be so upset with me. You're going to be so mad at me. Let's talk about some of the talks. I went to a handful of talks. Okay, the thing about Vidsummit though is that the talks you can essentially not attend if you would like, because when you buy a ticket to Vidsummit, you get access to all of the talks. You get the recordings. I, at the end of the event, was already sent the link for like all of the way to access all the talks. Okay, so if there was anything that I wanted to go to but I couldn't, I can go and watch that later. There is also a digital pass if you would like to see these talks. If there is something where you're like, oh, I want to see someone like Cody Sanchez speak or Roberto Blake, like if you would like to see those are available on like, I think it's like $99. They may have changed the price. It used to be $99. I don't know if it's still the same. Like when you buy your ticket to VidSummit, you get access to that. Where I have always said there was a lot of value in Vidsummit is the networking. And in previous years, I admit, I felt the networking was better in like networking that was like useful to me for furthering my career as a creator, if that makes sense. Where the networking was very valuable for me as a creator and as a person and as someone that wants people to strive and succeed in the creator economy and in this job was one, I got to meet a lot of great women creators that have smaller followings than me that like were either not used to attending events, not used to attending events alone, not used to networking and things like that, not used to explaining their content to people. And like I got to talk with them and be like, no, like let's pitch you. Let's see, like, let's work on your elevator pitch. Let's talk about your content. Have you tried doing this with your content? Have you thought about doing this? That's where I see value in it, is almost like consulting, I guess, in this sense, in this regard. And like just helping people look at their content slightly differently, or even being like, okay, that's cool. I hear what the talks are. Have we thought about what makes you happy? Like what you like making? And then we just optimize that versus let's only make what's going to go viral, which is a lot of what these talks are. That's my personal take. That's mostly where I get a lot of value from this, is feeling like I can give back to the creator space, if that makes sense in this regard. I also just like meeting a variety of creators. And, you know, there's a lot of creators. This is a very solitary job. I'm very fortunate that I am in Los Angeles. I have a lot of friends that I've made all over the country that are creators that I can talk to and they can talk to me. And that's not always the case for people, especially if, like me, you aren't the best at digital communications. A lot of the recommendations of Vidsummit, a lot of them can be boiled down to like one type of content and where it's accessible. Now, there is nuggets of wisdom within that is applicable to you and is applicable to me. I admit that at this current stage in my career, aside from when I forget to hit the record button, that there is not a lot that speakers at Vidsummit, when it comes to the creator job and all of that, there's not a lot they can tell me that is super valuable to me at this point, or that's something I haven't heard before or that I haven't been told before. I just feel like as a creator, I may have aged out of this type of content. Where the networking has been effective previously is like meeting people high up at companies and things like that, or at YouTube or at various other social media companies and things like that. At the end of the day as well, with the amount of events that I go to and the amount of events that I have now started repeatedly going to and making a part of like my content calendar as a creator, I see the ebbs and flows and like the rise and falls of these events. I've been very open about my feelings on the decline of VidCon, in my opinion. And Vidsummit, as I said, the vibes felt weird. When I spoke to a couple other people who are hardcore, like Vidsummit is the greatest thing ever, a lot of them said that a lot of the talks did feel much more on the surface side this time around, or not super applicable. They liked the networking more than anything and meeting other creators. Some people who it was their first Vidsummit as well, they also told me that they preferred the networking side of things and being able to meet other creators and make a new network. Like I was talking to a group of girls that I met the first day and they're like, yeah, we're so excited. I was like telling them about Discord because they want to check in with each other about what they're making and making content and stuff. I'm like, Discord's probably the way to do that then, versus using like just WhatsApp and things like that. And like that's where I think the value came in for a lot of people here versus say some of the talks. It did bum me out that a lot of the talks would be like, now we got to talk about AI. And it's like, do we? Actually, no. Like I said, I go to a bunch of talks. I went to Roberto Blake and I went to Cody and I went to a couple other people. Roberto mentioned like his was like the platforms are saturated with mediocre content. If you are making engaging content that serves a purpose and does X, Y, and Z, you will survive the AI slop. You will survive the slop content in general. He was talking about not just AI slop, but slop in general on platforms, which if you've been on the platforms for a couple of years, even without the AI, you are familiar with slop content, which I appreciated that note. And then I think did Cody mention AI at all? Oh, no, she did. Cody talked about how she turned herself into AI for a chatbot for frequently asked questions and things like that. I don't believe she talked about using AI involved in her companies, but I mean, with the amount of companies that she had, I wouldn't be surprised if she saw it as a means of automation, but she does have a full team. Cody Sanchez is who I'm mentioning, by the way. I don't know her. I don't know why I'm saying Cody as if I know her when I actually know Roberto. Cody Sanchez. She has like a bunch of companies and content and things like that about business and buying boring businesses and things like that. A lot of talks did come back down to AI. There was multiple rooms that I went into and there was like just like a handful of people sitting there. In the main hall, they do the thing that a lot of business speakers do where they are like, oh, everyone sit in the middle, guiding everyone to sit in the middle and things like that for photos.
So I'm at Vidsummit, okay, it's the last day. And I just find it very interesting that Space Station Investments, okay, which I'm fairly certain is owned by one of the owners of this event. Not certain. I have to double check. The table's they just had the booth here, and there's a table here. No one's been here the entire time. And I think that that's either one, a commentary on the fact that the creator economy is also being infected by the, impending recession, current recession that we're in, depending on who you ask, or at the very least that the owners of this event do not see the same value in it anymore. But then if that's the case, then why should attendees see the value in it? It's an odd vibe. The vibes are weird.
This was also the year that I learned that they don't pay speakers, apparently. Lack of paying speakers at this point is interesting. And like, I am the first person to say venues are expensive. Events are incredibly expensive. I have no doubt about that. But $50,000 for at least, I was confirmed of that 2 years ago. And then I do know that you asked that for one brand and then they did not spend that with you. They spent something else with you. But I do know that that seems like what they were asking for from everyone. Just seems interesting, that, you could be paying speakers at least something past just hotel room. The amount of money you're charging, the size of the venue and all of that, like, I think you should be paying speakers, especially because you're branding yourselves as a conference, not a convention. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about the creators and fashion of it all, because I do have thoughts. So creators and fashion is put on by Team Theorists, okay? Team Theorists, game theorists, style theory, all of that. I went to creators and fashion last year when it was here in LA. It was a fashion show in that regard for like creator brands and things like that were like merch, jewelry provided by creator brands. I was like, this is really cool. I think it could be more. You know what I'm saying? Like that was my opinion on CIF last year. And then this year they were like, yeah, we're going to do more and it's going to be like attached to Vidsummit, which it's like, okay, cool. Let's see how this looks at. I was reached out to for transparency's sake on my end. Back in November of last year, I received a reach out from someone at the management company that helps out with theorists, okay? Asking if I would like to be involved in the next one and that the location was going to be TBD. Fill this out if you are interested. And I filled it out and I was like, yeah, I'd be willing to help with like hosting or anything like that for like a segment or interviews. I filled out like a pitch basically. It asked if I was attending Vidsummit. So I put it together about, that it was probably going to be attached to Vidsummit. That's probably when they had been approached to be a part of it or around that time. I put unsure at the time and I explained like everything is changing. This is too far out type of thing. But would love to do a like interview segment or something like that. And I replied and they followed up and said, amazing. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful remainder of your week. And again, this was in December. I heard nothing else back from them ever. No one involved in the fashion show. Then I received a message from someone. I received a message from someone in March. I saw you're in the Vidsummit fashion show. This is so cool. I was like, oh shit, am I? I have heard nothing confirmed. LOL. Sorry, I'm in Florida because my friends are getting married. Where did you see it confirmed? And they said, an agent sent it to me and you were in the roster, haha. And that's how I found out I was in the Creators in Fashion 2025 pitch deck. I'm on it. Anarchy's on it. A couple of other creators are on it. Some of whom were involved in the show. Few weren't. I never heard back. No one reached out to me. No one followed up with me. No one checked to make sure I was going to Vidsummit. Nothing. So just for the record, that was my knowledge going into the show. So the fashion show was attached and they kept advertising like, oh, CIF closing out Vidsummit, CIF closing out Vidsummit. I think Vidsummit did CIF dirty. That's my opinion. So they put CIF on all the windows and stuff. A lot of people didn't realize there when I was talking to them, like, oh, are you going to the fashion show? They're like, what fashion show? They didn't fully put it together that Creators in Fashion was like attached to Vidsummit, even though it was very advertised around. And though on the email marketing for all of Vidsummit, it was like closing with Creators in Fashion. Like they made a big deal about it in the email marketing and things like that. I don't quite know how I would bridge this gap for Creators in Fashion with Vidsummit going forward. Because as I said, that has a bit of a broy nature to it. A lot of the attendees are men. There are a lot of fashion pieces in the show and in the first show that were like gender neutral or men's clothing. So I do think that there is a way to bridge this gap, but I don't know how I would actually market it with them within this event to make more sense. I think you guys needed to move up the event immensely. Vidsummit also sent out organizer announcements throughout the event via the Hoova app, okay, which is like the app that most of us were on. I wouldn't say everyone was on, but this is where like the agenda was and all of that, okay? So throughout the day, they're sending out alerts, including like when things are dropping in the vid market and things like that. At some point, they send out Vidsummit closing remarks, come to the keynote hall. So unfortunately, because of this, there is no timestamp, but I can show you what they didn't send an announcement about. I'm assuming it was the 510 discussion, which was how one choice can change your content because of who was speaking. And this was the closeout talk from Dan Norton and Sean Holiday. Also here, Hope Scope came out and said that they were gifting 5 women creators that attended Vidsummit channel Jumpstart, including one of my friends, which was fun. But this was talked about as the closing of Vidsummit, okay? They did talk about the fact that the Creators in Fashion show was going to be happening. However, that was not going to start until 6:30. So the event was going to close. This was in the keynote hall. They were then going to close it. They asked us all to leave so they could flip the keynote hall to make it into the catwalk for the fashion show. So that was like 5:55. So like, let's say 30 minutes. They're like, okay, that's done. At 5 p.m., all of the food spots within the convention center close. So then the suggestion is then if you're hungry and it's around dinner time, we're getting there, to then go get food, but then do you have enough time to then make it back? And then also how likely are you to come back to the fashion show if you've already left to go get food? Okay. So then the suggestion is stay there. There was no food options in the lobby at that point. Creators in Fashion then got pushed actually further. That's when it was advertised that it was going to start, but like the doors were going to open at 6:30.
So just got out of the keynote, or like the send-off, where they talked a lot about Channel Jumpstart, did some more giveaways, things like that, talked about the car, and then now we're waiting for the Creators in Fashion show, which is not until 6:45, but like they have to convert the stage. I think there's no more talks happening, and I think probably every sponsor is breaking down, so I'm just out here for right now because there's not enough time for me to go to get food before Creators in Fashion. We'll see how many people end up coming to Creators in Fashion. I'm hoping a good amount. That would be good. But having this gap between programming for the fashion show might be a mistake.
At 7:30, they scheduled the after party when the fashion show is supposed to go till 9. The Vidsummit after party, which was at the Toyota Music Factory, Raleigh Underground, which is like next door. I don't know if they have food there. I didn't end up going because I stayed at the fashion show.
Okay, they finally opened the doors. I'm gonna try and get as close to the front as possible. Oh my God, they have a VIP section. These seats, and then everyone off to these sides. We have these big spaces over here. Here is that, and off to the side. But like everyone's gonna be walking down this area. Why not fill in this space? Okay. Thinking thoughts. Interesting.
Originally, I was not going to be able to sit in this VIP section. It was for VIPs only. Matt Pat told me, I wasn't sure if I was gonna say it was Matt Pat. Matt Pat said I could go and sit, and he was like, come on in. I was like, no, you just told me that you were, coming in to host and that you weren't involved in the planning. I don't want to mess up someone's seating chart if there's a seating chart. And he was like, come on. He's like lifting up the thing. I was like, I'm good. Thank you. It's okay. And then someone else was like, I'm putting your name on a seat. You're gonna sit in a seat. And so I was then given a seat in the VIP area. So I stayed in the VIP area at the end of the stage the entire time. Some people filled in. They did let some people come in. And I did overhear, I believe, the executive producer of Vidsummit saying, if you're going to go to your seat, you have to sit in your seat the entire time if you're going to be in the VIP seat. I don't know what was told to VIP people, obviously, but if that was the case, I think that should have been made aware to them so that they would make sure to eat before coming. Because again, this is a essentially close to a 3-hour show. That is a long time. By the end of the fashion show, there was maybe 20 of us-ish still in our seats. It was very empty. No one was in the extended crowd in the back. And again, it is a long show. It's a long show. And there was very little food options prior to leading up to the show. Like I said, they're sending out announcements from the organizers. Nothing's been deleted. I'm screenshotting this again as I'm talking to you. Free Mad Pop drinks hitting the first floor at 5 p.m. So around this one's probably before 5. Then Vidsummit closing remarks come to the keynote hall. No timestamp on this, but come to the keynote hall for the closing of Vidsummit when, Creators in Fashion is supposed to be the closing of the show. Major giveaways at the exhibition hall. Get there now for major giveaways. Now, the keynote hall and the exhibition hall are the same hall. I did find that confusing. After party going until 1 a.m. That's the last announcement. Located at Raleigh Underground, 5-minute walk from Vidsummit. And that is quote from Spencer Lauder, organizer of Vidsummit 2025. Notice something missing, nothing for the fashion show that y'all were marketing as the closing of Vidsummit. So I just think that that's shitty on Vidsummit's part. And again, there's a lot that I would have done differently. I enjoyed the fashion show. I've already told some people at Team Theorists my thoughts on this. I don't know if I would have included the extra segments with like the 3-minute makeup challenge and the cake decorating challenge. I loved the ending with the showcase of creators showing off things that they have made. That was very fun with the maker creators. Evan and Caitlin were in it. Stephanie was in it. A couple of creators were in it. I admit I don't know everyone. It just seems like I do. I don't know everyone. Very cool to see everyone's like different creations and things like that. And I think that would be really cool to do more with in the future. If we had gotten rid of those other segments, then more people could have shown off their stuff. You know what I'm saying? My personal opinion. I know some people like the fun little sideshow bits. I feel like it kind of broke the immersion of the fashion show element. So that's just me. But it was a fun show. I liked it. I always like seeing people's different merch things, especially because I'm not always checking other people's merch. Even though I'm not buying merch, I also think that it's one of those things where the creators in fashion, it's a shoppable fashion show. So like while you're watching, if you're watching on the stream, you can buy the things that are walking the runway, which is cool. It's literally the ultimate ready to wear fashion show, which I do think is very fun. I hope you guys do another creators in fashion show event in the future. I think that there could be a wider assortment of creators that are involved in the fashion show as well, which I think would be very cool. I skipped the main after party just because at that point I was like very much yapped out. And then my friends that were throwing an after party that was in Dallas proper, that was 40 minutes away. With love, I was not going to take a 40-minute ride at 9 p.m. because if I got there and there was no food, I was going to kill my friend. With love, I needed food, so I just got sushi. I inhaled 3 rolls, and then I went home back to my hotel. I was going to film this then, but I had a 3 a.m. flight, so I could go to Phoenix to go see the WNBA finals. Go Aces. And I decided to go to bed instead, and that was the right decision to wait to film this now. I did hear from multiple volunteers who did tell me that they found out about the ability to be a volunteer and attend the show for free via volunteering because of my video. I also unfortunately heard not the best of things about how some volunteers have been treated in years past. I didn't hear any real complaints about this year, I will say, aside from some scheduling and communication issues leading up to the actual event itself. The gift bags that we got when we checked in for registration, normally it's like a Vidsummit bag and then a t-shirt. This time there was actual stuff in the bag, which someone was like, yeah, they didn't do this last year either. So there was a bunch of like creator products and stuff that were in the bag and just other sponsored companies that were in the bag that were like playing before talks and stuff. So that is nice to actually have stuff. Including Stack, which I kept calling, like a human fish food. It's like a pellet thing that was like a bunch of, I gave it to someone. It wasn't going to fit in my luggage. I never tried it. I don't know. It was like a bunch of vitamins and minerals that like pellets. They the instructions are literally hold water in your mouth, dump in the packet, and then drink more water to swallow it in morning and night. That sounds like human fish food to me, which I mean, it could be effective. I don't know. I didn't try it. I gifted it to someone else because it was like a big box. It was like a full 30-day supply, I think. And I had a flight to catch. So I also wasn't sure how they would take that through TSA, frankly. Normally, what I hear from people at Vidsummit, whether I went to a talk or not, is someone telling me like this amazing thing that they took away from one of the talks. And I feel like that happened far less this time around. And I don't want to say that as an indictment to the speakers. It's at that point now where, like I said, for myself, I can only hear some people recommend being an affiliate, or starting a course, for another way to expand your creator revenue and things like that. So maybe just in my career, this is a point where like the education side of things, I have just, I have outgrown the need for Vidsummit. Maybe there's that. I just get more value from like the friends element and like talking with other creators and things like that. Because I do think that that's where a lot of the value comes in, especially because like a commentary YouTuber can learn a lot from like an adventure YouTuber or something like that, but like a lot of times we're just not put in those positions to talk to each other. So, oh yeah, I did think it was interesting that you guys had some of the same sponsors as Open Sauce. That's all I'm going to say. I thought that was interesting because Open Sauce was a couple months ago. And I saw a couple of sponsors there that were also here. I did also see there was a company that was there one day and gone the next day, which was a smart toaster oven that also had like a meal kit attached. And I asked, do you guys work with creators? And I don't think they understood it. And then someone else I was with also asked the same question because we were trying to figure out what they were doing there. Later that first day, I saw them packing up and wheeling stuff away, and I just thought they were closing up for the day. And then they never came back. So I don't know if they just got sick of that question or what, or if they just decided that there wasn't the value that they thought there was here. I'm very curious. I'm curious what they paid because they just had like their own little pop-up booth thing in like right at the start in a good spot, like to get into any of the halls or to go to the rest of like where some of the exhibitors were, you had to pass them. So I'm really curious what happened there. Did they only pay for one day? Because that's something. Would I go again? I don't know. I just feel like it's October. There's other events and other things that I could be doing. It could have been a New York Comic Con right now. And I'm not, like it's one of those things where it's like, I don't think this is going to be in the rotation anymore. Like last year, I was like genuinely upset that I missed Vidsummit to go to F1. And I love F1. Like I was excited for F1 for Austin, but I was like, oh, damn, I'm bummed out. Like I won't get to see some of my friends that I only see at Vidsummit. And then most of them weren't even here this year, So it's like for what it also is from like a, creator reunion standpoint, it isn't what it previously was. You know what I'm saying? I think it is what you make of it. If you are starting out as a creator and maybe you have like, let's say 3K plus subscribers, but you're like really trying to figure out what to do next or what to optimize and things like that, and you want to network with other creators, and maybe you live in a place where like there's not a lot of networking creator opportunities, maybe there's not a YouTube creator collective that happens in your area or anything like that. One, I do think you as a YouTuber, you can pitch a creator collective. There's other things that you can do. I just think that there are also cheaper trips and cheaper events now to network. However, if you want, the whole package of being able to network in person, being able to talk to some people and brands. I do think there have been other times where I've been where there's like a better assortment of brands that are directly applicable to the creator economy and the creator community that I have been able to talk to like people that are like fairly higher up or fairly creator facing within those companies at Vidsummit. And I feel like that was definitely lacking this year, in my opinion. I had a good time. Some people talk to me crazy, but that's side effect of being myself. The way I explained it to people is that this event is very much like a perpetual content farm, kind of in its own sense, where a lot of people here, the people that are here that are like really trying to learn, a lot of them are going to these talks so that they can one day become speakers at Vidsummit, so they can train the next person like them that wants to become a speaker at Vidsummit. Does that make sense? And that's why I'm like, are you happy with what you're making? Like that's where I like to come in. Like, we can optimize fully. Like, we can talk about SEO and all of that, but have you considered like what you like making, not just what like will go viral? And that's all. Did you go to Vidsummit? Did you see me? Some people messaged me and they were like, I am going to be on. Someone said they forgot my first name and they didn't just want to call me Swell. And though there is not like a fan element of Vidsummit, a lot of people still like ask me for photos and stuff, which was very nice. They're like, I know we're not supposed to do that. I was like, it's fine. Like, hi, it's cool. We met. Hello. Did you go to Vidsummit? Did you see me at Vidsummit and you didn't say hi? Did we connect at Vidsummit? Are you a creator that was at Vidsummit? If you disagree and you were like, I got a lot of value out of these talks, I got a lot of value out of all this. Again, everyone's experience is totally different. If you had a better time than me at Vidsummit, you won. Congratulations. Fantastic. I hope you 10x your content and like go crazy viral with it and still enjoy what you're making and not just enjoy making money. Because there was one conversation I had with someone where I did feel like my brain was melting out of my earballs with all of the buzzwords that he was throwing at me, and I was trying to get him to have like an actual like genuine like creative thought in his mind as he was talking to me about like, what do you like making? Like I was like at one point I was like, are you happy? Like I was going crazy with it. Was very concerned talking with him. And yeah, let me know. Comment down below. Reminder, I stream on Twitch. My Swell Entertainment is now available on Spotify. Reminder to check out Girly Pop Go if you'd like to see more motorsport and car content. I filmed a bunch of stuff with the General Motors, the GM cars they had there. They had a Cadillac, they had a Silverado, they had, they were doing a whole 0 to 60 thing, which I didn't participate in. But someone there is going to win a car that was there, so that's fun. But I vlogged that, and I did some interviews and talked with some of their product people, which was fun. So that'll be on Girly Pop Go soon. Shout out to my channel members. You also click me join channel memberships. You can go ahead and click join down below if you like to comment on social media. That'll be all up here. And that's what you have a lovely day. Goodbye. Like, I get it. This is a job, this is a business, this is a skill. But at the end of the day, I have been doing this for 11 years, and I come from a time where, yeah, I started making content because I wanted to be discovered and I wanted to be famous at 16, 100%. But over time, I came to love actually making content, and I have a real love for talking with the camera and being professionally nosy and getting to the bottom of things and trying out new products and talking with y'all. And that's where I come from. It's like, if I didn't actually love doing this, there are other ways to make money. You know what I'm saying? And so when someone comes at me and they're like, oh, I've been doing this for 2 months and I'm not viral yet, I'm like, I'm not the one to speak to about this, And again, everyone has different philosophies for this content and things like that. But it's like, I fully believe in being a student of content and perpetually learning. I fully believe in that. But at this point, it's like, so much of life and becoming a better creator is about going out and doing and experiencing things. And that's not always something that you can, teach on a stage. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense.